Welcome back to the news at 10. Nigeria is looking to be the United States' swing supplier for its strategic crude oil reserves. And that's according to the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Dr. Pt.3, who held a closed-door meeting with the U.S. Energy Secretary Rick Perry in Cape Town, South Africa. After the meeting, Dr. Kachiku offered some detail and also cleared the air on the recent $25 billion contract controversy allegedly involving the NNPC. Our Johannesburg Bureau Chief Pt.3 reports.
The meeting was on the sidelines of the ongoing Africa Oil Week taking place in Cape Town, South Africa. And the minister says it's centered on ways to improve cooperation in the energy sector between the United States and Nigeria.
The idea is to look at areas of cooperation. A lot of American companies are invested in Nigeria, Mobil, Chevron, quite a lot of even the smaller players and engineering and exploration companies. But also keep that investment going. In a time when we're looking at how to revamp our infrastructure, increase our production, get into refining, it is key that the funds are coming in, because those funds won't come from the government in the short and medium term. And this was basically trying to encourage U.S. investment. U.S. also was the major buyer of our crude until about a year ago, when the market turned and overseas shale production began to expand in the U.S. So they are almost energy self. In fact, they are energy self-sufficient right now. But we also want to be the swing exporter. And the times when, for reasons of strategic reserve, they need to import more. But going forward, it's really how do we shape up our system with improved technology, and improved financial investments, and improve skills and know-how. And those are the things we were sharing thoughts.
On some national issues, the minister gives a thumbs up to the petroleum sector reforms so far. He also says the nation's refineries are to be revamped and not sold. He cleared the air on the recent $25 billion contract controversy involving the NNPC.
Some people have talked about corruption. That wasn't the issue. I never said anybody stole money. If you know the president, you know how transparent he is in this sort of things and how remotely connected at all he is with any issues that have to do with even expenditure. So that wasn't the issue at all. The issue was simply our governance system is losing its beat, is losing its momentum. We need to make it work better. We need to use instrumentality of the boss, not just of NNPC, but of the boss of other parastatals to make sure that they are working. And we have seen a lot of progress. Don't get me wrong, we've made a lot of progress. And if I'm shouting that it's not good enough, it means that my benchmarks are very high, because that's the benchmark the president expects me to keep.
Nigeria is a major crude oil exporter to South Africa, and Dr. Kachku says he sees a long-term relationship with the country in terms of refining and downstream production. From Cape Town, South Africa, Pt.3, Channels Television News.
Oil and gas operators and experts attending the OTL Africa Downstream Week in Lagos have asked the federal government to fully deregulate the downstream sector. The OTL participants believe that Nigeria holds the key to regional wealth and opportunities in the downstream for business growth and must, as quickly as possible, promote policies in that direction for a free market.
Every year, operators, regulators, investors and players in the downstream oil and gas across the continent converge on Nigeria for the OTL Africa Downstream Week and Expo to compare notes on industry dynamics and opportunities.
The African market remains one of the highest growth regions in the world, with consumption witnessing year-on-year increase. Operators within the continent's key regions realize this and are keen on exploring all opportunities. These are all the essence of OTL.
Renewed opportunities in the downstream and the value chain components is driving the conversation on this 11th edition.
If in recent time Europe has lost over 1.8 million barrels a day in refinery capacity, certainly that business, particularly in downstream parlance, oil industry parlance, is always a sexy business, to talk about it.
These guys are clear and unanimous about the work sheet going forward. The issues revolve around safety, quality of petroleum products, refining efficiency, policy directive, pricing and infrastructure, all of which are opportunities waiting to happen.
We should not be thinking about taking minority shares or anything like Reg said in the LNG. I think we've passed that now. Let those who are interested in the downstream invest in the downstream.
It's a global business, so people are discussing regional economy and growth, but there is a challenge: price liberalization.
To fully liberalize the petroleum product prices on our continent has energized the sector, resulting in competitive pricing, better service delivery, and improving the enabling environment for private sector-led investments in the sector. And on this note, I wish to call on the Nigerian government to make efforts at reaching full price regulation.
Once the market is competitive, every player is able to locate himself within the relevant part of the market which conduce to its operations. And the opportunities within those relevant parts are what drives private sector activity. And that's what we're looking to have.
The call is simple. Nigeria must innovate, invest, liberalize the sector. Government must shift. And the reasons are clear. The contributions of the components of the sector's value chain is more significant to GDP than crude oil.
8 people from different disciplines have been conferred with the honor of Fellow of the Society for Environmental Toxicology and Pollution Mitigation, that's SETCOM. The ceremony was performed at the Society's 5th Annual International Conference in Lagos. SETCOM is a non-profit professional organization which promotes sustainable environment practices.
Analysis conducted by the World Health Organization show that 23% of deaths globally and 26% among children under the age of 5 are attributable to modifiable environmental factors. That's why, in the light of recent outbreaks of Lassa fever, monkeypox, and other diseases, the Society for Environmental Toxicology and Pollution Mitigation, SETPOM, is looking at the theme, Environmental Sustainability and Public Health Challenges in a Recovering Economy.
With a population of 7 billion people and limited natural resources, we as individuals and societies need to learn to live together sustainably.
We select design concepts with the least environmental impact, and in so doing, identified impacts are mitigated and or eliminated at the design stage. Congratulations.
The high point of the ceremony is the conferment of Fellow of the Society on some individuals who have displayed outstanding contributions in the field of environmental protection and management. Although there is so much more to do to make environmental protection practices a culture among regular people, participants at this conference agree that their mix of concerned professionals is making an impact.
The urgent need for the nation now to attack whatever is causing the vandalism of our pipelines.
It's a society for those who have passion for the environment. And if we talk about environmental sustainability, it's not just for the environmentalists alone, it's for everybody.
People can come from different areas, like in academics, industrialists, regulators, and all the rest of them, under one umbrella to share best practices.
The society, eager to incorporate environmental best practices from a very young age, presented gifts to secondary school students for outstanding performances in essay competitions in senior and junior categories, as well as most impactful photographs of the environment.
Let's take a look at some business news now. Here's Emana Amawe. Hello and welcome to Business News. Nigeria's Minister of State for Petroleum, Mr. Pt.3, says that the country will finally join its OPEC counterparts in capping its daily crude oil production output in the early part of 2018. The minister also told reporters at an oil conference in Cape Town, South Africa, that current oil prices are encouraging, but that OPEC will not rule out further output cuts to shore up the market. Nigeria is targeting oil production of 1.8 million barrels per day by early next year, in compliance with OPEC's target limits, while the country currently produces between 1.6 to 1.7 million barrels per day. OPEC, Russia, and other non-member producers have cut oil outputs by about 1.8 million barrels per day since the deal began in January 2017 till March next year, amid plans of further extension. In the meantime, Nigeria's Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Ms. Pt.3, says a new 650,000 barrels per day refinery currently under construction by the Dangote Group is expected to come on stream by the end of 2019. Mr. Kachukwu also announced that Nigeria is close to finalizing the process to get private partners to revamp 3 of the 4 government-owned existing refineries, which is expected to add a total of 450,000 barrels per day. Additional planned capacity of the refineries comes alongside a series of efforts by the Nigerian government at modernization and expansion of the refineries in 2017 as part of a strategy to reduce dependence on imported refined petroleum products. And at the fixed income and money markets, overnight lending rates fell by 2.82% to 120.08% today at the anticipation of inflows via monthly budgetary allocation to state and local governments and matured OMO bills subdued the impact of outflows. Traders also attributed the decline to reports of a court-ordered freeze on millions of bank accounts with incomplete identity documents in compliance with money laundering rules and tight liquidity in the money market. The central bank sold 18 billion naira today and 11.36 billion naira on Monday through the open market bills auction. In the meantime, the Debt Management Office plans to auction 100 billion naira in bonds tomorrow. An embattled indigenous listed energy trader, Owando, has obtained a court order in Lagos to halt the suspension of trading on its shares and a planned forensic audit investigation announced last week by the Securities and Exchange Commission. On Monday this week, the Nigerian Stock Exchange placed technical suspension of share price movement on Owando, Nigeria, when the market opened after a full suspension was placed on the energy company for 48 hours last week. The JSE Group in South Africa has also placed Owando, Nigeria on suspension on its trading board in Johannesburg. Nigeria Securities Commission has accused Owando, Nigeria of breaching provisions of Investment and Securities Act of 2007 in matters relating to insider trading, discrepancies in ownership structure, falsified accounting, and irregular third-party transactions, among other allegations. And at the local bourse, bargain hunting by investors, particularly in the shares of Nigerian breweries and Fidelity Bank, pushed the market up into positive territory at the close of today's trading session. Let's join BC Adebayo for details.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Reports. Tuesday's trading session at the NSE ended with a 0.33% rebound from Monday's spillover of negative sentiments recorded last week. The market's recovery comes on the back of positive performance from the consumer goods and the banking sector, despite a 23 basis points drop from the industrial sector and no change from oil majors. The gains recorded by the bellwethers also pushed up the market capitalization by 41 billion naira to 12.574 trillion naira. Nascon occupied the top spot on the gainers list, followed by Capitan and 20 others, while CNI Leasing saw the highest loss among 14 decliners. UBA, Access and Fidelity Bank are the top volume drivers at the end of the day's transactions, which saw a total of 199.85 million units of shares change hands in 3,657 deals. And that's it on the Stock Market Report. I am BC Adebayo.
Meanwhile, it's a positive close for most of the leading world stock markets today, especially the U.S., following strong third-quarter earnings on Wall Street, while the Nikkei hit a fresh 21-year high after breaking a 14-day winning streak. That's Business News Tonight. I'm Imana Amawe.